Time to dive into your favorite part of the day. We've got some multiple choice questions. And beginning off here, we are going to see some of our management assertions. Inquiries of warehouse personnel concerning possible obsolete or slow moving inventory items. Now, key is going to be obsolete or slow moving inventory items. This is going to be something you should get familiar with. Provide assurance about management's assertion of which of these. Now, when we're talking about obsolete or slow moving inventory, are we worried about completeness? Are we worried about ensuring that all inventory is counted for? Not particularly. This is going to tie in with a different assertion. Existence. Well, we're not really concerned about does it exist. We're concerned about is it obsolete and possibly worth less than we have recorded. But we're not really worried about existence. Crossing those two off. Are we worried about valuation? Well, that sounds like it might hit the nail on the head a little bit more. Obsolete inventory is inventory that would be recorded at a certain amount, let's say $100 per unit. However, if it's obsolete, such as an old iPhone or an old TV that's not worth as much as the newest model, it is up to management to write that inventory down to a lower amount, at which case it would be at a lower value. So I'm going to say valuation looks like a good answer. However, let's look at the last possibility, which is presentation. We're not really worried about presentation here. There's nothing here that would indicate we want to fairly present this. It's just our concern is valuating that inventory, valuing it, making sure that it's recorded at the proper amount. Very good. Let's keep moving along and having a good time. Next up, a physical inventory is taken on a cutoff date. So this inventory count is taken at a cutoff date. This procedure is necessary to ensure which of these. This inventory count can be taken at any point, right? If you want to verify the amount of inventory at any particular date. However, specifically taking an inventory count at a cutoff date is going to allude to one of these. Now, is it something to do with authorization? Well, this is a specific substantive procedure. Substantive procedures have to do with the accounting assertions, whereas tests of controls have to do with authorization, record keeping, custody, as well as just testing the internal controls for appropriate procedures. I'm going to cross off authorization here because this has more to do with tests of controls. Ownership, that's not a word we would particularly use here in this exam, so that's kind of a distractor. However, if you see that, that would probably be more in line with rights and obligations. So that really has nothing to do with that, so I would cross that off as well. We're looking at reasonableness. Again, that's not really a word we would use, so another distractor. That's trying to probably likely hint more at valuation or estimates, but I would say that's not really going to help us here. And lastly, completeness. Now, that I think makes the most sense because when we're dealing with completeness, we want to make sure that as of a specific cutoff date, we are including all inventory that should be included and not including any inventory that should not be included. We're cutting it off. We're saying, as of this date, we're splitting the inventory. This inventory should be included before the date and possibly other inventories included after that date. Final answer here is going to be completeness. When there is an inventory observation in auditing a company's inventory, which party actually counts the client's inventory? Interesting point because for two reasons. One, it's something tricky, and you might think, okay, it's the auditor's responsibility, right? The auditor's counting the inventory. But also, in reality, it actually is different than what we're going to learn here textbook-wise. In reality, you've heard of many staff accountants being sent to do inventory counts, and you think, okay, well, they're the ones doing the counting, and who's to say that every single firm across the country or possibly the world is doing it the proper way, and the auditor's not just helping out where it's needed? However, technically, by the books, textbook-wise, the client is counting the inventory, and the auditor is observing the inventory count. So again, the client, whether it's probably not going to be management within the client, it's probably going to be maybe a lower member within the client, such as just a warehouse personnel, cashier, someone like that. They're going to be the one doing the inventory count, and the auditor is observing that count to make sure it's properly conducted, that the client's personnel is actually doing their job and counting everything. Final answer here is going to be letter A, the client. Again, the auditor will be there, but the auditor is not the one counting. Last question here. Of the following duties included in the inventory cycle, which should be segregated to maintain proper internal controls? Remember, we've got record keeping, authorization, and custody. That is something I would think of initially whenever we're looking at proper segregation of duties, internal controls. And let's think about this. So, warehousing. Let's assign responsibility to all of these. Warehousing is going to be custody, because if you're in the warehouse, you're maintaining custody of the assets, whether it's inventory, TVs, equipment, whatever it might be. Okay, all the above. Let's see if that's the case. Purchasing and receiving. So it looks like purchasing, who does the purchasing? Those with authorization. Awesome. And then receiving, depending on who that is, whether that's the physical personnel receiving the items or if that is those who take note of it, right? If the people in charge of recording the inventory. So this could be record keeping or custody, but either way, if this is record keeping or custody, we see that even if it was custody, and custody is this answer here, we cannot have two different actions being taken by the same people. So we need to separate these all out, leaving letter B to be our final answer. All of the above, all of these items need to be separated out for proper internal controls. And that is that. As always, it has been my pleasure to walk these questions through with you. Have a great day. Keep powering through. Study hard, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.